In this lesson, we are going to learn how to multiply polynomials. We're going to be working in section 5.5 in your book, and that starts at page 455 and goes through page 456. And we're going to work problem numbers, let's say 2 through 46 even. And then we'll work problem numbers 62 and 64. Okay, so the directions are just simply telling us to multiply. In this first, let's say problem numbers 2 through 12, it's just going to be a review of what we learned in section 5.1. So on problem number 2, they give us 14a to the 4th times 2a to the 7th. And remember, when you have these coefficients, you multiply them together. So 14 times 2 is 28. And then a to the 4th times a to the 7th. Remember, when you multiply those bases, you're going to add the exponents. So 4 plus 7 gives you 11. So your final answer is 28a to the 11th. Number 4, we have 14y to the 4th times negative 4y to the 6th. So remember, multiply that 14 and negative 4 to give you negative 56. And then y to the 4th times y to the 6th is y to the 10th, because 4 plus 6 is 10. Number 6, negative 6m to the 8th times 9m to the 7th. So multiply negative 6 times 9 to get negative 54. And then m to the 8th times m to the 7th. So you add that 8 and that 7 to give you m to the 15. Moving on to problem number 8, we have negative 5r to the 7th times negative 3r. So negative 5 times negative 3 gives us a, positive 15, because a negative times a negative is a positive. And we have r to the 7th times r. You've got to remember that this r has an understood 1. So 7 plus 1 would give us that r to the 8th. So I highly recommend writing in that 1 to help you remember that does have a 1 there. Now looking at problem number 10, we have negative 3r to the 4 s squared times negative 7 r squared s squared. So we multiply negative 3 times negative 7 to get a positive 21. R to the 4 times r squared. 4 plus 2 is r to the 6. And then s squared times s squared. 2 plus 2 gives us 4. Number 12. On number 12, we have 3a to the 4b squared times negative 14 a to the 3rd b to the 4th. 1 second. Okay, so now we're going to multiply that 3 times that negative 14, which is going to give us that negative 42. A to the 4th times a to the 3rd. So 4 plus 3 is going to give us that a to the 7. And b squared times b to the 4th is b to the 6th. Okay. All right, so that's going to conclude the actual review portion of that section. Again, that was reviewing that section 5.1 material that we should already know. Now we're going to look at number 14. This should look familiar to you. You have 4 parentheses 7b minus 5. This should look familiar because it is your distributive property. Your distributive property means you're going to distribute that 4 into each of these terms, meaning multiply. So we're going to multiply 4 times 7b to get 28b, and then you multiply that 4 times negative 5 to get a negative 20. And that's our answer. You can't combine those because they are not like terms, so they are as simple as it'll go. Number 16, I've got 5x times 2x minus 7. So again, we're going to distribute that 5x and multiply it by each of those terms. So 5x times 2x. Well, 5 times 2 is going to give us a 10. And then x times x, remember you're going to add those exponents. So that gives you an x squared. And then 5x times negative 7 is negative 35x. Now let's look at problem number 18. We have 3a to the third times 9a squared plus 15. So I'm going to distribute that 3a to the third into each of those terms. So 3 times 9 is 27. A to the third times a squared is a to the fifth. And then we're going to multiply our 3a to the third times 15, which is going to give us 45a to the third. Okay. Problem number 20. You have 5m times 4m to the third minus 3m squared plus 2. So here there are more terms inside of the parentheses, but that doesn't change anything. You still multiply that 5m times every term inside. So remember that 5m has an understood 1 at the exponent, so 5 times 4 is 20. M times m to the third is m to the fourth. And then 5m times negative 3m squared is negative 15m to the third, because 1 plus 2 is 3. And then 5m times 2 is 10m. Now when we look at problem number 22, we have 5ab squared times ab minus 3a plus 5b. So again, we're going to distribute. So 5ab squared times ab. These are understood ones. So we have our 5, because the understood number written in front of these variables is a 1. So 5 times 1 is 5. A times a is a squared. B squared times b is b to the third. You've got to take these one step at a time. And if it helps you to cover up the problem and just leave that first term there so you can actually see what you're doing, there's nothing wrong with that. So now let's look at the next one. 5ab squared times that negative 3a. Well, 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. A times a is a squared. And then your b squared is just going to come down with everything. Then 5 times 5 is going to give us a 25. And then 5ab squared times that b is just going to give you that ab to the third. Because 5 times 5 gave us the 25. There was no a to multiply with these, so you just bring it down. And then b squared times b to the first is b to the third. Okay? Now looking at problem number 24, we have 8pq squared 2pq minus 3p plus 5q. We're going to multiply it by everything inside. So 8pq squared times 2pq is going to give you 16p squared q to the third. Because that's a p to the 1 and a p to the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. And a q squared and a q to the 1, which 2 plus 1 is 3. And guys, I do apologize if that background noise is bothering you guys. I'm so sorry about that. So then this next term, and if you want to cross the terms out after you've multiplied them, that's also a technique you can use to help you. So 8 times negative 3 is negative 24. P times p is going to give you p squared. And we're going to bring that q squared down. And then when we do that with that last term, that gives us 8 times 5 is 40. Bring the p down because there's no p to multiply it by. And then q squared times q is q to the third, because 2 plus 1 gives you that 3. Okay, so now we're going to move on to problem number 26, where we still have the distributive property, but it's a little different. Okay. And guys, I'm going to go ahead and take one brief second just to close my door. I was trying to leave it open, but it's just not working. And I'm going to put a sign up, so bear with me just one quick second. Okay, so sorry about that, guys. So on number 26, I have a minus 3 times a minus 7. I will go ahead and put forth a little disclaimer here. You might have learned this in school as FOIL. I do not teach it that way because when we get down to problems like numbers 41 and 42, you're not going to be able to do them because FOIL is not going to help you there. So I teach this a very specific way as the distributive property. So if you remember FOIL, that's fine, but I still recommend you watching me teach this because again, when you get down to 41 and 42, that will not help you. Okay? So looking at problem number 26, what we're going to do is we're going to treat this as if it's just an A. And if you had an A right next to parentheses a minus 7, you would multiply that by each of those terms. Okay? So, let's see. Trying to find something to block that with. Right there. Okay? So I'm going to multiply this A times that A and that negative 7, just like we were in that previous problem there. Okay, so that's going to give me A times A is A squared. A times negative 7 is negative 7A. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover up that negative 3, and I'm now going to multiply it by everything in that set of parentheses. So negative 3 times a is negative 3a. Negative 3 times negative 7 is positive 21. Okay? So again, when you're multiplying a binomial times a binomial, you take this first term and multiply it by everything in that second set of parentheses. Then you take your second term and you multiply it by everything in that second set of parentheses. Okay? So you're just doing the distributive property twice. But we're not done yet. We still have to combine our like terms. Most of the time in this class, when you have a binomial times a binomial, you're going to run into where you can combine those two middle terms. So negative 7a minus 3a is negative 10a, and you bring down everything else. Okay? Problem number 28 says that I have b plus 7 times b plus 5. So again, I'm going to multiply this b times everything in this set of parentheses and this 7 times everything in this set of parentheses. Okay? So b times b gives us b squared. B times 5 gives us 5b. And then 7 times b gives us 7b. 7 times 5 gives us 35. Now we combine our like terms in the middle and bring everything else down. So 5b plus 7b is going to give us 12b. And bring everything else down. That's your answer. And I want you to notice how these are turning out to be in that descending order that we want, that we talked about in 5.3. All right, problem number 30. I have x minus 10 times x plus 9. So x times x is x squared, and then x times 9 is 9x. And then negative 10 times x is negative 10x. Negative 10 times 9 is negative 90. So now I combine my like terms. 9 minus 10 is negative 1. And don't forget to bring your x down, because if you think about it, you have $9 and then you swipe your card and you spend 10. You didn't have enough money for what you just spent, so you owe the bank money. So that's your answer. You do not have to write that 1 in front of the x. It's not going to change anything. I would accept it either way. So you could have either written it this way, or you could have written it this way. Either one would work. Okay? Number 32, s minus 12 times s minus 8. Okay, so s times s gives me s squared. S times negative 8 gives me negative 8s. Negative 12 times s gives me negative 12s. And then negative 12 times negative 8 is a positive 96. Then you're going to combine those like terms. Negative 8s minus 12s is going to give you a negative 20s. And bring everything else down. Okay, let's look at problem number 34. We have w plus 5 times 4w minus 7. So w times 4w is 4w squared. W times negative 7 is negative 7w. 5 times 4w is 20w. And then 5 times negative 7 is negative 35. Now you combine your like terms to get 4w squared. And then negative 7w plus 20w is going to give me a positive 13w. And then bring down your minus 35. All right. Number 36, you have 7a minus 2 and 2a minus 3. So 7a times 2a is 14a squared. 7a times negative 3 is negative 21a. Negative 2 times 2a is negative 4a. And then negative 2 times negative 3 is a positive 6. Now you combine your like terms. You have 14a squared. Negative 21a minus 4a is negative 25a. And then bring down your 6. Now let's look at number 38. On number 38, I have 7s minus 3t, and then 3s plus 8t. Okay, so 7s times 3s is 21s squared. 7s times 8t is 56 st, and you want it to be alphabetical, so that's why I put the s before t. Negative 3t times 3s is negative 9st, and then negative 3t times 8t is negative 21t squared. Now we're going to combine our like terms. We have 21s squared, and then 56 minus 9 is going to be a 47st. Bring down your minus 21t squared. Now let's look at number 40. On number 40, we have 5x minus 4y times 2x minus y. So 5x times 2x is 10x squared. 5x times negative y is negative 5xy. Negative 4y times 2x is negative 8xy. Negative 4y times negative y is positive 4y squared. Now we combine those like terms to get 10x squared, and then negative 5xy minus 8xy is going to be negative 13xy. Then bring down your 4y squared. Okay. Number 42. This one's going to be fun. If I gave you one like this on the test, it would be more of a bonus type problem. Okay, what we do is we take each of these terms here and we multiply them by each of these terms here, just like we've been doing. So the only way to really show you is going to be to just do it. So x to the third, we're going to multiply it by each of these terms. So x to the third times 2x squared is going to be 2x to the fifth, because 3 plus 2 is 5. X to the third times 4x is going to give me 4x to the fourth, because remember that is an x to the 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. Then x to the third times negative 1 is negative 1x to the third. Okay? Now let's look at the next term, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of cross these out as we use them. It'll make it easier for us to see what we have left. So now we have negative 3x squared times 2x squared is negative 6x to the fourth. 2 plus 2 is 4. Negative 3x squared times 4x is negative 12x to the third. Negative 3x squared times negative 1 is positive 3x squared. So now we're done there. Okay, now we are going to run out of a little bit of room, so I'm going to start writing down here. So now we have 5x, and we're multiplying it by every term here. 5x times 2x squared is 10x to the third, because this is an x to the 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. 5x times 4x is 20x squared. And then 5x times negative 1 is negative 5x. Now we just have the 1 left. 1 times 2x squared is 2x squared. 1 times 4x is 4x. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. So now we have to combine our like terms. So there's only one term that has an x to the fifth. So I know that's going to be a part of my answer. So as I use them, I'm going to cross them out. Now we're looking for everything that has an x to the 4. Now only 2. So 4x to the 4 minus 6x to the 4 is negative 2x to the 4. And now we're going to cross those out. Now I've got a negative 1x to the 3, a 12x to the 3, and a 10x to the 3. Negative 1 minus 12 is negative 13. Negative 13 plus 10 is negative 3. And don't forget your x to the third. Okay? 3x squared, 20x squared, and 2x squared. 3 plus 20 is 23, plus 2 is 25. And don't forget your x squared. Now we have negative 5x and 4x means we have negative 1x, or just negative x. And now we have all we have left is negative 1. I'm going to do a problem A here real quick. This is more of the type of problem that I would give you on the test. Let's say 5x squared plus 2x times x squared minus 3x plus 4. So we would take our 5x squared and multiply it by everything on the inside. 5x squared times x squared is 5x to the fourth. 5x squared times negative 3x is negative 15x to the third. 5x squared times 4 is 20x squared. Now we're going to use our 2x times x squared is 2x to the third. 2x times negative 3x is negative 6x squared. And then 2x times 4 is 8x. Now you combine your like terms. Well, there's only one x to the fourth term. And then we've got a negative 15x to the third and a 2x to the third. That's going to give me negative 13x to the third. 20x squared minus 6x squared is 14x squared. And then you bring down your 8x. That's more of the type of problem that I would give you on the test. If I were to give you one like 42, it would most likely be a bonus problem instead. Okay, let's look at 44. Y plus 9 squared. So to work out these problems, if I were to say that I had I'm going to write this in a different color so we can see. Let's say I had 4 squared. To work that, you would say that means 4 times 4, which is 16. So here, to work this problem, we would do y plus 9 times y plus 9. So you write it out 2 times because you're squaring it. So y times y gives you y squared. Y times 9 gives you 9y. Then this 9 times y gives you 9y. And then 9 times 9 gives you 81. Combine your like terms to get y squared plus 18y plus 81. Number 46, a minus 8 squared. So a minus 8 times a minus 8. So a times a is a squared. A times negative 8 is negative 8a. Negative 8 times a is negative 8a. Negative 8 times negative 8 is a positive 64. Now my negative 8 and negative 8 are going to be combined to give us a negative 16a. Okay. I don't remember if I said we were going to do 48 or not. I just put my do not disturb sign with the back of that paper, so we're going to do it just in case. So p minus 11 squared. So that's p minus 11 times p minus 11. P times p is p squared. P times negative 11 is negative 11p. Negative 11 times p is negative 11p. Negative 11 times negative 11 is positive 121. Now we combine our like terms to get p squared minus 22p plus 121. Okay, now let's jump to number 62. Y plus 8 times y minus 8. So y times y is y squared. Y times negative 8 is negative 8y. 8 times y is 8y. 8 times negative 8 is negative 64. So to combine our like terms, you notice that negative 8 plus 8 cancels out because that gives you 0. So you're just left with y squared minus 64. Number 64, w minus 10 times w plus 10. W times w is w squared. W times 10 is 10w. Negative 10 times w is negative 10w. Negative 10 times 10 is negative 100. Combine your like terms. You notice again that they're going to cancel, leaving you with w squared minus 100. The reason these cancel is because they are conjugates of each other, meaning they're the same exact binomial, but the only thing that's different is what's in between the two terms. So as long as these are opposites but everything else is the same, then your two middle terms should always cancel. All right, that's all I have for this lesson on multiplying polynomials. I wish you the best of luck.